Okay, well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the University of Warwick and the Offerholder Open Day for Economics. So hopefully you are all in the right place and are expecting economics. My name is Elizabeth and I'm the Director of Undergraduate Studies in the department and one of the professors here. I've been here since 2012, so been here fair time. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about some of what it's like to study at Warwick, and in particular to study economics at Warwick. But there'll be lots of more information coming your way from lots of different people to hopefully give you a flavour of the different support that we offer, what teaching is like, the learning here, the student experience, a bit of a taster lecture, and so on. So hopefully it will give you a good flavour. So but just to start off with, a few things that we tend to really focus on in the delivery of our teaching and our research, really in everything that we do. Firstly is outstanding delivery of teaching. So that's one of the main reasons that you're studying at university, is to learn. And so we deliver outstanding teaching and learning, hopefully in a way that will benefit society. You know, a lot of our modules are designed to introduce things like sustainability, issues of things like climate change. So we try to look at ways in which we can improve your understanding and your knowledge and the skills that you have in a way that will actually benefit you and society as well. The department is very much focused on research-led teaching. So I'll show you some different statistics, but we are very, very lucky to have some of the leading researchers in their relevant fields, not just in the UK, but in the world. And as a result, you will benefit from being taught by them in some of the more specialist optional modules. And as a result, we very much introduce research from day one of your studying here. So I'm sure you've got questions that you're already pondering about, you know, how important is education in economic growth, for example. And we encourage you to think about those and engage in research right from the start. And we'll tell you a bit more about how we do that. And then finally, we are focused on building a diverse and inclusive community. You will see in the department, we have got a huge range of staff from all countries in the world, and the same applies in terms of students. Students coming from lots of different backgrounds, and we try to build a very inclusive community so that every single student can reach their full potential and learn from others. So to give you an idea, you know, you've applied to Warwick, you've had an offer at Warwick. We now want to hopefully try and encourage you to come to Warwick to see if it's going to be the right place for you. You know, we are an outstanding university, an outstanding department. So in the Good University Guide, we come first, fifth in the Complete University Guide. I'm sure you've looked at other rankings as well, probably over the past few years, and you'll tend to see that Warwick is always in the top few universities when it comes to economics. We are the 6th most targeted university by the UK's top 100 graduate employers, which is a hugely important thing because the idea of coming to university is you're going to hopefully use your economics degree or your economics and management or EPACE degree to get a brilliant job. And you can see that we are a very targeted university. And then 23rd in the QS World University Rankings, so all the universities across the world. So we are a very highly ranked university. And the students tend to think that they get a very good experience. So in the National Student Survey, which takes place every year, and all final year students at universities are asked a range of different questions. 90% of our undergrad students were pleased with the academic support and teaching that they received. So we hope that we do deliver a very good teaching experience to our students, but that we provide lots of other bits as well, which we'll hopefully tell you a bit more about as we go. I mentioned research, that we are very much a research-led department, and that really is an asset. To coming to study here, you are going to be taught by some of the leading researchers in their fields. And as a result, the research that they're publishing is cutting edge, it's policy relevant. So 99% of our research rated world leading or internationally excellent, and in the most recent, what's called the REF, it happens every few years. We were ranked 2nd in terms of the quality of our research, and we are the 3rd best university in Europe in terms of the Worldwide Economics School research rankings. So that just gives you an idea of how good we are in terms of the research. And that underpins the teaching that we do, and means that you as students, from day one, not only will you be exposed to these top researchers, but you'll have an opportunity to actually interact with them. And we'll tell you more about some of the different ways you can engage with the research throughout this afternoon. That gives you a little bit of an idea of what's coming. I'm going to be taking the first section, and then I will hand over to our students to tell you about their experiences. There will be a short break, and then you'll be able to have a taster lecture from one of our professors, followed by some really important information on careers and a Q&A session. So, transformative teaching. So I've mentioned research-led teaching a few times probably already, but it really is one of the things that really makes Warwick quite different from a number of other institutions, because we really do invest in research-led teaching. How are you going to be taught? So no matter which university you go to, you will find that teaching is very different from what you're used to at school or college. You will be taught with a combination of lectures and what we call support and feedback classes. So lectures can range from, on core modules, as it says, 200 to 600, and that's where the delivery of the main content will occur in a lecture theatre like this, but a bit bigger. But then in optional modules, you might be in a module with just 20 students in the lectures, and then your modules are supported by small group classes. So you'll have weekly classes or fortnightly classes on optional modules with 15, 16, 17 students in them, and that's a chance for you to apply what you've learned in the lectures. You'll have a tutor there, they'll go through problems with you, you might work in groups to solve problems, to do some applications, and get some feedback on your understanding of the materials. In addition, a number of modules will have recorded videos on web pages. There will be additional resources added. It will very much depend on the module, but there is a lot of support provided to you to ensure that not only are you able to go to the lectures and learn, but can actually apply what you're learning and have a chance to ask questions of the people who are teaching you. So we try to underpin all of that with the idea of the research and thinking about applying what you're learning to current situation, to current policy debates. So it might be that in the UK there are lots of issues to do with cost of living crisis, and as a result I teach first year microeconomics, so when I'm delivering first year micro I might be actually bringing in a case study that looks at the current energy crisis and how we can apply a particular model to that particular problem. So we hope to deliver transformative teaching to you through the 3 degrees that I'm talking to you about today. So very briefly, in terms of the first of the 3 degrees, BSc Economics, you can see the 3 years and the structure of the degree there. So in each year, you've got a number of what we call core modules. So these are modules that every student on that programme must take. And unsurprisingly, in each of the first and second years, you take modules in microeconomics and macroeconomics. In the first year, you then take a quantitative techniques module, which is comprised of mathematics and then statistics. And then you also take a history module. And we're very lucky here to have a world-renowned history department within the department, a lot of top history researchers, and hence we deliver a history compulsory module in year 1 as well. In year 2, you can see again, as I said, micro and macro, and then you build on your quantitative studies from year 1 with econometrics. And that's where you will start to develop your research skills. So for example, in your year 1 statistics module, there is a research project that you will be engaged in, and you build on that in your second year econometrics module with some more research projects. All of it sort of giving you the skills that you need to move into your final year where you're doing a more applied research module. In each of your first 2 years, you can then take up to 2 optional modules. So we try and be really flexible in letting you take modules from across the whole university. So in economics, we offer a lot of modules, and I'll give you a taster of some of them. But if you want to take modules in chemistry, physics, maths, languages, that's an option open to you as well. Finally, you can then see in year 3, there are 2 optional core modules. So the idea here that you have to choose one of them, And then you've got that flexibility to choose a range of optional modules, because by then, hopefully, you've developed a bit of an interest in certain areas, and hence you now want to specialise in particular areas. But again, you can take modules outside of the department. So that's the BSc Economics degree. Some of you here might be on the EPACE degree, and looking at this particular joint degree taught between us and the Politics and International Studies department. Again, there are a range of core modules in year 1, 2 and 3. In year 1, you take modules in Economics 1, which combines micro and macro, the same quantitative techniques, maths and stats, as I previously talked about, and then you take 2 core modules in politics, plus you have your options again. In the second year, you then choose between an economics or a PACE major. So that is, which one do you want to specialise more in? You still have to study both, but you might have more of an interest in the economic side or more of an interest in the PACE side. And so you can see how it starts to break down. No matter which major you choose, you have to take economics 2. But then in addition to that, if you choose the economics major, you take one of the econometrics modules. Whereas if you take the PACE major, you've got a core political theory combination of modules to take. And then you've got a number of other optional core modules that you have to choose one from, and then you've got options as well. Again, languages, chemistry, maths, stats, business school, and so on. Finally, in the third year, you take a core module, the making of economic policy, which is sort of the capstone module here, which basically is combining the economics and the politics. And then you take a number of options as well. And the idea with that making of economic policy module is it is taught jointly between economics and PACE, picking particular topics and thinking about how we might address them from the 2 different disciplines. And then finally, our new economics and management degree. The structure is fairly similar in terms of year 1 and year 2 from the economic side, economics 1 and quantitative techniques, and economics 2 and econometrics. And then in year 1, you've then got a range of business school modules, so you don't actually have any options in year 1. But then moving into year 2, you can take some optional modules from WBS, and there is a phenomenally large choice of modules in a huge range of areas. And then finally in year 3, you've again got another capstone module, this time taught jointly between the economics and the Warwick Business School, bringing together those 2 disciplines, and again addressing sort of particular issues from the 2 different points of view. Then you've got a number of optional modules from economics and from WBS. And again, I'll give you a flavour of the types of things that are available within economics. A key thing to bear in mind, as I said, as you progress through your studies, is that focus on research. And in each of those 3 years, that final module is based around sort of bringing together all the knowledge that you've developed and trying to apply it, in particular in the BSc Economics degree, to a final year research project. The Research and Applied Economics module is where students undertake a piece of independent research. And they have a supervisor, have weekly meetings, will do a literature review, presentations, and most students will do an empirical project into some absolutely phenomenal areas. It is sort of the world is your oyster. Pick an area that you are interested in, and then that's the topic you go for. I've supervised projects from students looking at the transfer values of Premier League footballers, looking at auctions, looking at political theory, looking at Brexit vote and the theories there, looking at financial risk. Really, it's almost the case that anything goes. You know, we can research anything from an economics point of view, we like to think. So, and hopefully by the time you get to that final year, you have developed those research skills through the modules that you have been taught. As I said, you know, we like to give you the opportunity to take modules from outside of the department. We think of ourselves very much as international and interdisciplinary. So a lot of our modules do bring lots of different disciplines together, because as much as we love economics, a lot of other subjects have got things to say about the things that we're interested in as well. And as a result, we want to bring those subjects in and think about what's being said there. So environmental economics, for example, you know, we want to look at problems in terms of things like climate change, in terms of water usage, energy consumption, but we want to be able to liaise with Global Sustainable Development Department, and look at what they have to say, give you the opportunity to take modules there. We have modules in behavioural economics, financial, labour, time series econometrics. That is just a very, very short list of just some of the areas in economics that we have modules in. But it really is the case that you can study most modules across the university as long as you are interested in it. And that's what we want you to do. Pick those areas that you're most interested in, because that tends to be where you are more motivated and are likely to work harder. How are you going to be assessed? So our assessment methods are very, very varied across the modules. So some modules will have class tests as a way of sort of checking your understanding as you go, rather than having a final exam when you're not necessarily sure if you've actually understood and be able to apply what you understand. Some modules will have weekly or fortnightly problem sets to check your understanding of each set of material from a given week. There may well be essays. Some will have group essays, group presentations, independent research projects. The idea being is that we want to give you a range of assessment methods, because all the different assessment methods will give you different skills. You know, you will need, when you enter the world of work, you will be working as a group sometimes, as part of a team, and we want to make sure that you've had an experience of that so that you've developed some of those skills. You're bound to have to write an essay or a report of some kind at some point. So we want to make sure you've developed those essay writing skills. So there are a lot of different assessment methods across the modules, a lot of it dependent on the type of module that you're actually being taught. You know, is it a really mathematical module, or is it more of a discursive module? And hopefully, by doing that big range of assessment methods, you do develop a huge range of employability skills, which is really, really important as you go through your degree. So for those students who are applying for economics and EPACE, you are able to apply to study abroad. So you make your 3-year degree a 4-year degree by going abroad between your second and your final years. It is a fantastic opportunity to go and study somewhere in Europe or further afield, like Monash in Australia, for example. So lots of opportunities to enhance your CV. So experience a new culture, experience different modules, different way of teaching and learning. In order to do so, you need a 65% in your first and second years. So we want to make sure that you really are able and capable to go away and study abroad. Hold a language at level 5 on the language centre scale. This is typically for universities in France and Spain in particular. A number of universities abroad will teach in English, but obviously you're going to be living in that country, and hence having an ability to converse in that language is always going to be very helpful. But if you're going somewhere outside perhaps the mainstream countries that we might think of, where you're still studying in English, there's possibly less of a chance that you're actually going to know how to speak, I'm going to say Swedish, for example, or Norwegian. I don't know. I'm picking countries here. And hence, you necessarily wouldn't have to have that language qualification, but you might want to take the opportunity to pick up some conversational language. So study abroad is a fantastic opportunity. There are a number of different institutions where we have partnerships with as part of the economics department, but there are other institutions as well with the university. So lots of exciting opportunities to go abroad and study and experience a different culture, a different way of learning. So that's just the current universities that we have. We're always looking to expand, but it is a fantastic opportunity that you might want to consider if you were to come and study with us. None of you are currently on the study abroad. You've all got an offer for a 3-year programme, but you then have the opportunity to change that to a 4-year programme, and you would get lots of information during your first year, and that's when you would then start to think about applying. Okay, so it's just sort of an information process where we say, this is available to you, are you interested? So I've mentioned our research, and just sort of to give you an idea of the different areas in which we are engaged in research, and hence it gives you also an idea of some of the modules that we might be delivering, which are very much research-led. We've got lots of different research groups, so every member of staff in the department is a member of 2 research groups, and that is where staff will get together, discuss the papers that they are publishing, look at the modules that we're teaching within those areas. Are they current? Should they be up to date? Do we need to introduce different readings, more recent papers, things like that. And that's why we think the research groups are such an important part of the department, because it is the research that really determines what we should be teaching you, because that's what is influencing policy. We also have a number of research centres in the department which bring together academics as a way of actually developing their research, and it's a very much a collaborative and a networking process to try and make sure that we are delivering the best possible research, and hence can then pass that on to you as part of our transformative teaching process. The research opportunities that we do have available are pretty extensive. I've already talked a little bit about research and applied economics, which is one of the optional core modules that students will do in their final year on the economics degree. Another one we have, a module, is research methods in economics, which is it's an independent project, but it's sort of less intensive. Instead, it's about understanding the way in which research is developed and looking at literature reviews and analysing the way in which research is actually created. We also have modules in policy evaluation, so you can look at research papers that are based on policy and actually understand how you evaluate policy-based research. We have an undergraduate research support scheme, and within the department, a Warwick internship scheme for economists. I'm not really going to say very much about those because I believe Subham, a colleague of mine, is going to talk about those in a bit more detail, but they are two other opportunities to engage in research. There are a number of undergraduate conferences that we have, which we send students to based on their research and applied economics work. And across the social sciences faculty, which economics is a part of, there are lots of research opportunities, again, to collaborate with students in different departments so that you can think about research that might combine economics and psychology, for example, looking at behavioural economics and insights there. And finally, a sort of a fairly recent initiative is the Warwick Monash Economic Student Papers, which is really a journal for student papers that we publish for both Warwick economic students and Monash students studying in Australia. And the best papers from our students are put together in the Warwick Monash Student Paper Series. So there are lots of opportunities to engage in research and to actually have your research presented and made public. So our undergraduates are phenomenal, and their research and applied economics papers that they do, some of the best are submitted each year to some of the world-leading undergraduate conferences. And we have one of them, for example, is called the Carroll Round, which is held in at Georgetown University. And this is where students can submit their papers, and the best are selected. They then go out there, present their papers, and then there are prizes. We have an alarmingly good record there, and I think for actually 2 years we were asked not to send any of our students because we'd won best paper for I'm not quite sure how many years in a row. But the quality of our student research is phenomenal. And it's something that our external examiners comment on every year, that the papers that they read from our students are absolutely outstanding, are the basis for PhDs. And that's coming from external professors at other departments. So we think that we deliver a fantastic teaching experience that provides students with the tools to undertake this exceptional research, and they can then demonstrate their research at the Carroll Round. There is another conference, the British Conference of Undergraduate Research. Again, we've had lots of students having their papers accepted there and publishing their papers in the University of Warwick and Monash University paper series. So lots of opportunities to engage in research and then to present and disseminate that research. And I think that's one of the standout things about Warwick Economics, is that we do make sure that you are able to access these top researchers so that you really can engage in the research questions that I'm sure you are already thinking about. The last thing I'm going to be saying is just very briefly about the support available to you. But again, I won't say too much because I know our students are going to talk a little bit about that as well. But there is a huge amount of support available to you, not just from academic members of staff, whether it's your teachers or some of the professors who you can just go and chat to in their office hours, but we have a fantastic undergraduate office team who can help with basically any administrative query that you might have. We have got personal and year tutors, so every single student will be allocated to a personal tutor, so a member of academic staff who's there to support you during the time at university, and you'll meet with them each term. We have year tutors as well, who are there to support you, perhaps at a slightly higher level. In addition to that, we've got people who are there to support overseas students, advisors to female students, we've got disability support, we have got people who are focused on the student experience and on progression, as well as what I think is a really valuable mentor scheme where all of our first year students will be part of a mentor group, and hence your mentor will be a current second or a third year student, because quite often it's going to be the students who are best placed to answer some of the questions that you have. So there is a huge amount of support available for students when they arrive and during the years that you will spend with us. I'm hoping I haven't gone over time. Nope. And I'm hoping I haven't stolen anyone's thunder and said something anyone else is going to say. But I hope that's provided you with sort of a flavour of what Warwick Economics and the 3 degrees are like, what it might be like to study here. And I'm now going to hand over, with microphones and all, to Sarah, who's going to tell you about her student experience with us. Thank you.